do the sex.
Today's Locker Room Talkin' Shots topic is secrets of a matchmaker, your fast track to finding love. Dating is hard. Dating's hard. It does not matter what age you are. If you are young and new to the dating game, you've been in the dating game, out of the dating game, and you're back in it, you're an old pro. Look, most of us have been through the dating app circus. Hinge, Tinder, Bumble. We've gone on the first dates again and again and again and been disappointed. We've had false starts and been thrown back into the dating game, and we're sick of it. Our hopes are low, but there is a old new approach to dating that is reemerging, and people who are using it are claiming they're having success. It is matchmaking. So why are matchmakers so successful at helping people like you and me find love? I don't know. I don't have those answers for you, but luckily my guest today does. Paula Pardell is the managing director of Bloom Matchmaking. She's also a master matchmaker. Paula launched Bloom Matchmaking in 2020. Perhaps not the best timing, but throughout the pandemic and the aftermath, Bloom thrived, as did many, many of the matches she made. So how the heck did she make that happen? Well, Paula, I am going to hand the mic over to you. I'd love for you to take a moment to introduce yourself to my listeners.
Hi, Annette. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to explain how modern matchmaking works. My story is a little bit different. I've done many different things in the past. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and it was time for me to get back to work. And I came across the matchmaking position. So I worked for them for a bit. They didn't turn out to be the best company, but I took it as an opportunity and I ran with it. I formed my own company. And I wanted to be an ethical company that truly helped people. I've learned so much. I've met so many other people in the industry since then, and it's just been a great ride. It has. We were pivoting through COVID and we made it. And actually, COVID was a little good for matchmaking because people have realized that a deeper connection and healthy relationships are important in your life. So many of us, COVID hit, we were in a toxic relationship or we didn't have anyone at all. And, a lot of people went online and they're trying to find that. And then they were looking for alternatives. And matchmaking is something that is feeling a bit of a renaissance right now, I guess you could say.
It is having a renaissance. Definitely seeing more and more of it, hearing wonderful things about it. So I'm excited to get into it. And listener, if you're wondering what you're going to get out of this, you're not only going to learn what matchmaking is about and a little bit about the process behind it. Paula is going to grace us with some tips so that when we kick back tonight and start thinking about searching for our next best match, or if you're in the kind of the heart of dating right now, you're going to have some real solid information and insight into finding your best match in the least amount of time. Lots of great takeaways. So Paula, I'm having coffee and you are having tea, correct? This is a morning conversation. And cheers. Let's talk about finding love. I'm into it.
I love to talk about.
I'm excited. I'm excited about this conversation. But what I really want to start with is, look, I get sucked into all of the matchmaking TV shows, the Love is Blind, the, Ultimatum, like all of these shows that are out there about people finding love and the process that really leads to long-term love. And I mean, I think most of us now just watch it for entertainment. We know it's mostly bull. So what I want to know is this. What is matchmaking?
Well, I guess it's people that are dating with intention to find a long-term committed relationship. They're serious about dating. They're sick of the games and they need a little help. I like to say I'm like someone's wing woman. I'm there with you every step of the way, helping you through the process, getting feedback from dates, and matching you with people that are on the same level as you and someone that has compatibility with you.
Who do you work with? Is this all age ranges? What about genders and sexual orientation?
I work with straight people, and that the only reason for that is that within the matchmaker community, people have many different niches and they're experts at those niches. And that is not something that I'm an expert at. So I would refer people that are LGBTQ plus to my matchmakers that can help them better than I can. They're going to have more availability and more knowledge of what they're looking for and how things work in that world. Generally, my clients are very successful people. They're doctors, they're lawyers, they're CEOs. They've got their life together, they have their career, but that one thing is missing and they need some help. Maybe they don't have time. Um, and maybe they're a high profile person where they're not going to put their face on an app. So they like the personalized attention, the guidance, and the privacy of working with a matchmaker also. And I also have their best interest in mind, since these people are, you know, relatively wealthy people. I have their self interest in mind too, because I want to find someone that likes them for them and not for who they are or what they have.
And what is the age range?
Generally, it is around middle age or so. I get some older people, but lately I'm getting some younger people in their 30s that are sick of the game and everything too. So, really, all ages.
So you primarily are seeing, let's say, 30 to maybe 50, 60.
60, 65. I know another matchmaker that has a client that's 92.
Can you tell me a little bit about the process when someone comes to you and they're like, I have been on the apps, or I don't have time to do the apps, and I don't have time to go on a billion dates? What happens next?
Well, first of all, they fill out a profile on my database so I can get to know them and I can get to know what they're looking for. We schedule a call or a Zoom, and sometimes I'll meet people for coffee. And then we talk about, what's been going on in your dating world, what has happened in your relationships, what do you think is your block of not, you haven't found that person. Because, the dating apps they're challenging. They're good in a lot of ways, but they're bad in a lot of ways also. They've sort of made dating a bit superficial or shallow. People just think that there's an endless supply and they're just going to keep swiping and swiping, and one day it's like, lo and behold, that perfect person is going to appear. And I also talk to people about needs and wants. What is really important in a healthy relationship. We start with the foundation of it and try to get those things right. And telling people that, maybe you should be a little more open minded about who you're looking for. It's not that you want to settle for someone or anything like that, but some things aren't that important. Some of the superficial things that people say that they need to have, those things just aren't important. Profile and pictures are all one dimensional.
Can you explain or share some of what you think are the sort of more shallow, less important things that people put out there first when looking for a partner?
Okay, not everyone, but a lot of times, men and women have their different things. A lot of women are obsessed with height. And you have to realize that only less than 15% of the population is 6 foot and over. So you're eliminating a lot of people. You've got to think about how many people are single, how many of them are good guys, how many of them want a relationship, and so on and so on and so on in your area. So that just really limits you. And I've never had a couple, you talk to a happy couple that said, gosh, I'm so happy I married a tall guy. That's just really what made our relationship work. You need somebody that vibes with you, that you can have fun with, that makes you feel good about yourself. And then there's also the men's side of the things too. some of them are hung up on age. A lot of successful men believe that they need to find, some hot chick that has arm candy, and they'll send like a description of someone. I'm sure you can just imagine.
So older, successful men are wanting young, pretty things, or the way that they tend to look at it. Yeah.
Some, not all of them, of course, but there are people out there, and they have to realize that women nowadays aren't as likely. There still are, but there aren't as likely to go into a relationship like that because women don't need to anymore.
Oh, I love that you said that. Say it for the people in the back of the room, Paula. Women
Women
don't.
don't need a man. I mean, like need. It's nice, but we don't need someone to take care of us.
I Women don't need men anymore in the way that we traditionally did, and we did because we didn't have rights, and now we have rights and we can get jobs and we can support ourselves, and we don't have to do all of the hard stuff in relationships that we had to do before. And while I think younger men are just growing up knowing this, I think that there is, in my experience, because I am 49, and have been dating off and on for quite a while. And I am just shocked at how many men just don't get it. Like, the landscape has changed in so many ways, and I think that is a big thing. I love that you mentioned the height thing too, because I think it's so silly. I mean, I get, all of us having our preferences and wanting to feel small and dainty because of exactly all of those things that we should have overcome by now, right? The idea that we
Hmm.
need to be small and dainty to be, attractive or whatever. So I love that you point those shallow things out. Now, do you find that your clients are receptive when you say, "Hey, I hear you want this thing. However, comma, maybe you should throw that one out the door."
That's a case by case thing. Some people are, if people put out too many things like that, I won't take them as a client. It's just too hard. And, neither of us are going to be happy in that relationship, with the matchmaker and a client.
Yeah, I imagine though, it sounds to me like you're promising or trying to promise a true, authentic, deep love between two people, which is never going to be had when you're matching people based on inauthentic, traits. So, what would you say are some of the most important things that people need to be matched on? Like when you're talking to your client and they're like, "Well, I'd like her boobs to be this big and I want him to be this tall and blah, blah, blah." Um, what do you say to them? "Hey, here's what we really want to look at when putting you with a good match."
Someone who's ready for a relationship, that's open minded, someone that's going to communicate with you, understand you, someone that's on the, it's important, a lot of times to have someone on the same level as you. And I think it's nice, personally, I think someone that's in the same age range is nice too because you're more compatible, you have more things in common, you get those little jokes. I think I had said before, the profiles and the pictures are one dimensional. You really have to get out there and you have to meet the person and just, see if that connection or that chemistry is there. Some people will say that, I don't want to date anyone that has issues. Well, if you're middle aged and you don't have any issues or baggage yet, have you even been living? Have you just been living in a closet? But it's how we deal with those issues, how we work on ourselves, and how we move forward in our attitude. A lot of men were, and people were, I would never see a therapist or a counselor or anything like that. But that's the new sexy, is working on yourself.
That
See
is
someone, talk about it.
the new sexy is being willing to work on yourself. Another great Paula quote. The new sexy is being willing to work on yourself. And that is so true. Absolutely true. I love that you point that out. And do you actually find that a lot of people are saying that when your clients that come to you, like, I don't do therapy, blah blah blah.
No, I don't hear that so much. I think people are more open-minded to that. And, that's such a good thing that's come about. And maybe COVID has helped with that too, because people realize, you're sitting in your house all day and you're in your head too much. You need to talk to somebody. I think we all did that. And that's just not good for anybody. More and more men come to me and they say that, I've worked on myself and I really think I'm ready to get into a relationship now.
I love that. Now, here's a question because when I went back into the dating world after I had been married and separated, one thing that I knew was so important for me that is a non negotiable is being sexually compatible. And I know that some of that you can't find out until you're in the sack, but I definitely have questions. I will ask, before the first date is over about sex and interests and openness and adventure, being adventurous. Do you ask any questions about that? Does that come like if I were to hire a matchmaker and say, "Hey, I want to look for all these other things, but I really need a partner who is into X, Y, and Z or open to X, Y, and Z." Is that something that you factor into your matchmaking?
Yes, it is factored into it. A lot of what I do, we don't really talk about sex a whole lot. But I do gauge like how important that is to them because some people it's just not that important. And you want to put somebody with someone that, has an equal puts an equal importance on that. And I try to tell people actually don't talk about sex for a while. You want to get to know the person without getting all those the chemistry and the feelings and the butterflies going because that clouds your judgment.
How long are you with your clients? So you match them up with someone, they go on a date. At what point, let's say they find a date and they keep dating, how long do you stay with them?
Everyone's a little different. Some people require a little more hand holding than others, which is fine. Um, a lot of times the third date, and then they sort of, they fly away and go off on their own. But then, I'll have people come back and ask me for advice. I had one client that I had got into a relationship. He called me 4 months later and he's like, I really feel like I love her. Do you think I should tell her? I'm like, yes, you should tell her. So he told her, and they're still in love. They're such a cute couple.
That's one.
So just advice like that because we're just unsure of ourselves, and you need someone that is on the outside looking in. I'm not your friend. I'm not your family. I'm going to give it to you straight, and I do this stuff every day.
That being said, how long would you advise? And would it be different for man versus woman? Someone to wait before, let's start with the first kiss. Can the first kiss happen on the first date?
It can, if you're feeling it, go for it. But like I said, it just when you get all those butterflies and everything, I like to say, we start to put our rose colored glasses on and we're not seeing things as clearly. We all do it. It doesn't matter who we are. I do it, and we're thinking about who we want this person to be, and that's what we're seeing.
You would also suggest waiting a while for sex. I would love for you to give my listeners, like, just from your perspective, I'm like, what would you say a timeline on that? If someone were to say to you, just give me a timeline and I'll follow it, what would you say?
7 dates, 7 quality dates.
Seven.
If you feel comfortable with that person, if you trust that person, and you just can't wait anymore, you got to jump his bones, go for it.
I love it. All right, 7 dates, 7 quality dates. I want to make sure. Let's make sure they heard what you said. It's not seven like you met up for like 5 minutes to like high five or what. This is quality dates. So
In person dates, not texting dates.
that's not a date. I'm sorry, but that's not a date. Or like I don't consider virtual dates a date. Really, like not a thing. In my opinion, I have to be in someone's presence. Um, what would a quality date be from your perspective? Let's say you match two people and they go on a date and one of them comes back and says, "This is what my person came up with. What would a quality date be?
Well, as far as what you're doing, something, I do think, we do go back to gender roles, and I think some traditional gender roles have held up for the most part. A woman does like a man to take initiative and plan a date, and he should take into consideration who she is, what little he knows about her, and try to make it a fun, interesting date where you can get to know someone, maybe the traditional date of dinner and a movie's not a very good date because we're just sitting there watching the movie, we're not connecting with people. I like the dates where you're doing something. Like I had a singles event at an axe throwing place, and that was just so much fun because nobody really knew what they were doing, so we could all laugh at ourselves, and it was just a blast. It was a little competitive, and you're up and you're doing something, you really get to know someone. But as far aside from where your date is or what you do, a quality date is a date where you learn about someone. That's what you're there for, is to learn about that person, for them to learn about you, a little bit at a time. You just don't want to throw it all out there at once, but taking it slow and peeling. I like to say it's like peeling an onion. You peel it slowly. It's not as offensive. If you were to just to peel it all out at the same time, it can be a little offensive. But just a little bit at a time, getting to know someone.
Yeah. Now, you get your male clients, you get your female clients, and they send in their questionnaires. How do you decide who you're going to put together? Do people just kind of pop up for you right away? Or do you sometimes go, dude, I don't know who I'm going to match you with? And how many dates do you try to get each of your clients? Or what is the typical requirement just to get someone to someone they like?
Everybody's different. Sometimes it's the first one out of the gate, and I'm like, yes, that's nice. But sometimes it takes a little bit because I'm not a magician. I can't, you know, gauge chemistry for someone. But um, typically, I would say, you know, I try to get everyone at least 2 dates a month, at least. And I wouldn't take on someone as a client unless I was pretty sure that I already had matches for them. And one piece of advice is that pretty much all matchmakers have a free database that you can get into. If you Google matchmaker in your area, and if they have a free database, get into all the matchmakers' databases, even across the country, because they're working with people who are dating intentionally for real, and they need matches for these people. So if you come up as a match for one of their clients, it doesn't guarantee anything, but if you do come up as a match for one of their clients, they're reaching out to you, and that's free for you because we're recruiting for our clients.
Wait a second. This is big. So you
There's two sides of it. Yeah.
can you explain this to me? So you can look up matchmakers in your area or across the country and you can get into their database, is what you're saying. Have
Hmm.
yourself put in their database. And then if someone they're trying to match sees you or you see a fit, then they're going to reach out to you.
Right. And it's private. It's not something that anyone's swiping through. And you'll get invited to, a lot of us have events and things like that. You'll get invited to events. And I've matched a lot of my free people to my paying clients because we're a bit of like a recruiter. We're recruiting for our clients. So we need inventory. I know that sounds sort of cold, but we need people.
Do you find you need more women or men?
So my marketing, where I spend my money on marketing, is marketing towards men mostly. Women are open to these sorts of things. They get it.
Right, right. All right. Well, so look up the matchmakers in your area. And do you just Google free database or you go to their websites and it's easy to find?
Yeah, just Google Matchmaker in your area, and most of us have a free database. Some people will charge a little bit to be in their database, but they do offer something along that with that. like a coaching session, or if they do charge, they'll make you like a premium database member because they know a lot more about you.
All right. Well, that right there, that's the golden tip. All right. So someone pays you to do this and a good
Mm-hmm.
amount. Is that for an unlimited amount of dates? Have you found that some people need more in a, you send someone on their first date, they find love. Great. Have you ever found someone that is like, we're 10 dates in and it's still not working out?
Yes. And we do, we'll have a head to head, I'm coaching them, talking to them, what do you think is going on with these dates? And the feedback's so helpful because I get the feedback from both sides. A lot of times the story is somewhere in the middle, but, so helping them through that. And generally when I do a contract, I sign it for an amount of time, 6 months, a year.
Okay.
And it's not based on number of matches because that's just tough. I don't want to promise what I can't deliver. I'd rather under promise and over deliver.
Yeah, that's interesting. So this is more into the process. Someone goes on a date, they get done with the date, they come back, you get the rundown on the date from both sides. That is a
Mm-hmm.
gold mine of information. What have you learned? What have you learned from
Well,
that?
I have an older gentleman who's very horny and he talks about sex too soon and it turns women off. And it's not that they're not, I've already, spoken to them about these things and they do like sex because I tell them, that I don't check for that because I know that's what he wants, and but he just gets into it too soon and it's just a big turnoff for women, and so we've had to go back and talk about that. And I think he's realizing his mistakes and he's not talking about that. And it's not that he really is looking for the one. He's had bad experiences in the past, I guess. And then what else? Sometimes we don't listen, you know, we talk over people. Oh, we talk about our exes. That's number one. Oh my Lord. You cannot talk about your exes or your past. You're there to to move forward and to talk to that person. You can talk about all that stuff, once the relationship proceeds a little bit more.
That's great advice. Don't talk about your exes. And I think also in my experience, like ask questions. If you're just talking about yourself all the way through the date, that's bad. Bad
Yeah,
behavior.
asking open-ended questions. Questions that like there's a lot of different questions you can ask, but like what is your happiest memory? What's your favorite place to travel to, for instance? Because that elicits joy into someone and they want to talk about that. And then you can find commonalities throughout the conversation and it carries the conversation into different places.
Open ended questions. That's a great tip for dating. Any other tips? Well, let's say, what are some tips for going on dates that you would give to men specifically? And then we'll do women.
Listen, be a good communicator. Um, Compliment her on something other than the way she looks. I think is a good idea. Although we all know it. We like to be told we look nice, but deeper compliments are always a good thing too. Um, Dress nice, look nice, get a haircut, shave. Um, you know, don't wear your lawn mowing clothes and things like that.
And that's for 7 dates, guys. 7 dates. Do all of those things, please. I want y'all to know I have been on dates with both men and women who have shown up in what looked like clothes they had been wearing for a week and unshowered. And I've just been like, are you kidding me? Do you know how much effort I put in to myself to go on a date? I start 2 hours ahead of time. 2 hours to make sure my stuff is dialed in. I would like
Hmm.
to have a date that looks at least like they put, a solid 45.
Yeah, if they don't put in an effort for a date, are they going to put effort into the relationship? I mean, it makes them look lazy and slovenly. For women and men, when you look nice, you don't just look nice for that other person. You look nice for yourself and you feel good about yourself. Confidence is the best thing you can wear to a date.
Confidence is definitely the best thing you could wear to a date. So for women, what are the top dating tips for them?
Well, they shouldn't be hung up on the past, the ex talk, they can't do that. Um, they have to embrace their femininity a little bit too. We all have our feminine, masculine side. And anymore these days, women have to be more powerful at work. You know, we have, we have to be movers and shakers at work or whatever, but you have to dial that down a little bit once you go on a date and embrace your femininity. Because, a lot of guys, they appreciate that and, they want to take care of a woman, so just embracing those differences. And, on the other side too, men have to embrace their masculine and their feminine sides also, being open and being communicative, like I said, working on yourself because, traditionally men aren't supposed to show emotion. They're supposed to be strong and proud and, they're not supposed to do that, but that's not good for a relationship.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Actually, what it kind of comes down to on some level is everybody needs to get a little bit more feminine. Right? I
Hmm.
mean, that is the relationship making stuff when you can be soft and vulnerable with each other and let down. Like we live in this world that is so demanding and asks for us to be just so hard and aggressive. And when we come into a dating scenario, we want to be in our fun, soft, vulnerable, open parts of ourselves. And I don't think
Yeah.
traditionally that's where men went. And now we're like, hey, we need you here because this is the downtime side of us. And this is where we're going to really enjoy our relationship, right?
Hmm. And you brought up fun. Dating should be fun.
Yeah.
You know, you went on a date, it was okay or it was terrible. Just chalk it up to learning. I learned something from that and I'm going to move forward and I'm going to date someone else and maybe the next time it'll be different.
Right. Right. All right. Red flags on a first date. What are, for my listeners, when they're on the date they planned for this weekend, what are your top 3 red flags? Let's start with women. If these things are happening, red flag it.
A woman too needy, um, the ex talk.
First, too needy.
Oh, too
Let's
okay, too needy.
can we talk about that for a second? In my experience, and it's interesting because this does, of course, I am bisexual. I've dated both men and women, and I think how that's shown up in my dates with women. I've had women I've gone on first dates with who are literally like, they're just like, are you gonna like want to move in with someone soon? Like they get into this like truly U-Haul. If things go well tonight, I'm looking at when are we going to move in together? When I want you to be monogamous tomorrow. Like you are mine. How many other dates do you have lined up? And for me,
That's true.
that is too much. I'm like, I'm just trying to decide if I want date 2 right now, man.
Yeah, talking about those things too soon is going to freak anybody out. You gotta take it slow. And just, moving forward. And, the purpose of a first date is to close the deal and get a second date. Ask for that second date while you're on the first date,
Ooh, I
if
love
you're
that.
feeling it.
That is a great tip. So, for women, don't be asking about marriage yet. Let's just try to get date 2. So, and then talking about exes, and then maybe a third one. What's a third red flag we throw out?
For the women, not listening to him, talking over him, and that goes both ways.
All right. Men. I mean, I can think of a million red flags, but I want you to give me the top the top 3 red flags that men need to
Oh, let
watch
me
out
think.
for. I know. It's hard to break it down to the top 3, but we can do it.
I know. Gosh, my mind goes so many different places. But there we go, the communication thing. Listen to her. Really, you're there to get to know her. You know, um, don't flirt with other
Oh,
people.
God.
Pay the check.
Can
Don't be rude.
Can we go back to don't flirt with other women? Just Look, for one night, you are with this person for a limited amount of time. If it is so hard for you not to check out other, and I'm not, look, we're all human. Once you are in a relationship with someone, the reality is we do look at other people and we should all like chill out about that stuff. But on your first date, like be focused on the person in front of you and ask her questions. We will notice if you're checking out other women or being too
Oh,
friendly.
yes, we do notice that. That is one thing about women. We do pick up on a lot. When I'm going to bring on someone as a client, I'll take them out to eat because I want to see how they interact with people. Right? You can learn a lot from somebody over a meal, how they treat people. Are they, picky?
And I imagine men do this more often than women, bring up sex on the first date.
Yeah, don't bring up sex. I mean, don't sexualize her right off the get go because she's going to think that you're just in it for one thing,
Right. And, sometimes we all are in it for one thing. And
which is fine.
I would not hire a matchmaker for that. I would hit Tinder. That's where you do that kind of thing. Do not waste your money on a matchmaker if that's what you want to do, right?
If you're looking just to hit it with somebody, that's fine. If everybody's all on board for it, cool. And if you can do that mentally, cool, good for you. But yeah, that's not the kind of people I work with.
How long does it typically, a contract with someone, how long does it typically take for you to find them?
I would like a 6 month contract. I think 3 months isn't enough. I've done 3 month contracts. I think 6 months is just about right. A year might be a little too much to work with someone.
Like if it's
Like I
taking
said,
you a
I'll
year, it's you. Maybe you need to go back to the therapist.
and sometimes their issues are out of my scope of practice, I guess you could say. So I will refer them. Um, One thing that's cool that I started doing is I'm working with an autism coach. He works with people who are on the spectrum of having a social life and dating. So we're working together to help people that on the spectrum find love too.
Oh my God. I love that. I love that because I think more and more people are finding that they are on this,
Mhm.
like they've been misdiagnosed, and those have been some of the barriers for them to finding love. And so maybe at some point in the near future, you and I could sit down and have a conversation and give people who are on the spectrum some advice on their dating life because I'm sure that looks a lot different for them.
Oh, I would love to. It does look for different from them because they don't have those social skills and they don't they don't read people as well.
Okay, well, then we will bookmark that and we will get that out there for you listeners. So if you or someone you know is on the spectrum, I'm gonna have Paula come back and give us some answers about how to go about dating when you are on the spectrum. So before we go, because we're at that time, we're sending my listeners off with some of your best dating advice. What are some pieces of advice you can give them that they probably haven't heard often or don't want to hear, but that, in your opinion, are some of the most important things when dating to find love that you think are going to be key to getting them to that long term relationship?
Being ready to move forward, having a positive attitude about it. No one wants to date someone that is negative, is a Debbie Downer or whatever. Having that positive attitude and generally what you put out there is what you're going to get back. So, you have to carry yourself well, be open minded. And we had already mentioned, working on yourself.
You need to be ready, not just wanting someone because you want someone, but you need to actually be ready and emotionally available. And
Yes.
what benefits would you say are offered through matchmaking versus hitting the apps?
Well, I guess the benefit is that you've got someone, working on your behalf, um, advocating for you. When I bring up a client, I'm vouching for them. they've had a background check, and I'm here vouching for that client, you know, sort of like it's about marketing. You do have to market yourself, as sad as that sounds, but you do. You know, we're marketing you to, you know, whoever you want to find, and I'm doing that for you on your behalf. Telling that person how wonderful you are and what you want, and he's a great guy, and he's dating with intention. That's a big thing. I let people know that we're not playing games, we're not looking for hookups, we're not doing all that ghosting and all that other stuff. We are looking for a relationship.
So a big benefit would be that you bypass things like no one's going to be ghosting each other. They're not going to do that while they're under you. That's, I assume,
No.
unacceptable behavior. I am also assuming you do some of the curation of the photos and the profile
Yes.
that you share. So you know that you make sure they don't send or put up bad photos, right?
No, we don't do that. We don't do bathroom selfies and fish pictures and stuff like that. You do have to put your best foot forward and have good photos. I work with a wonderful personal photographer. We'll give you a make women, sometimes they want a makeover, and that just makes you feel good. Whenever we get a makeover, we feel good and we have good pictures, and the pictures are going to be real pictures. Someone's not going to show up on the date and be a totally different person with 10-year-old pictures or anything like that either.
So you bypass that. Do you help them write a profile or do you put the profile together for them?
I'll help them write the profile. I will help people on the apps a little bit. Sometimes they like to do like more of a hybrid approach to matchmaking where I'm working with them as matchmaker, also coaching them on the apps, getting the photos right, writing your profile to attract the kind of person you want to attract, those first texts. Oh, and the big thing in modern relationships, I think these texting relationships that people think they can get into with each other. People text too much. You can't text into a relationship. You've got to, if you can't meet in person, get on the phone, make plans. If you feel comfortable, meet them. If you're meeting them, off a dating app, make sure somebody knows where you're going. You're in a public place, but you have to meet someone. You can't just text a relationship. We build a false sense of what someone is over text, good or bad. I've got doctors that don't like to text, and people say, "Is he illiterate?" I'm like, "No, he's not illiterate. He's a doctor. He just doesn't want to text." People have different style of texting. Just short and quick text, and then other people want to write a book, and they get offended if one person is a different style of texters. My God, it goes sideways in so many ways.
So you coach with the texting. You coach them in their
Hmm.
texting. That is a big benefit to matchmaking. Boy, I've texted with people that really, really could have used your help. And so here's a question that just popped into my mind with you talking. I didn't realize you do hybrid, which is awesome. What app out of all of them would you recommend to people?
A lot of people ask that, and I wouldn't recommend any one app over the other. Yeah, I would recommend the apps that you feel better with on how they work, you know, just the way, the matching works and things like that. And the apps are going to be different in any area that you're in. You just have to be careful on the apps, stay safe, have a little bit of an open mind, and I coach them on, being safe and how to check people out with not a whole lot of information, because part of my job is a little bit of detective work. We got to find out about these people, but the apps can work. It's tough though. A lot of times, by the time people get to me, they're like, "Heck no, I don't want to be on the apps anymore at all. I just want you to take care of it for me."
Right, right. So you're getting a lot of extras with a matchmaker. You're getting someone who's curating your matches, who's helping you create profile that isn't humiliating. I have to tell you, I'm mortified, especially in my age range, which let's say between the ages of 40 and up. Men should not be creating their own profiles. They just, I don't know what you guys are doing. but it's
I
it's
know.
it's it's nightmarish. Like I could put some scary music behind me while flipping through profiles and be like, "This is how I will die if I go on dates with these guys." Um, so it's nice that you are offering all of that help. I also think for people who, especially if you are not thick-skinned, like ghosting happens a lot in the dating world on apps and when you don't have help, being treated poorly, being sent dick pics, I mean, like terrible things said. I happen to have a thick skin and it's like water off my back, but I know that a lot of people are really truly traumatized and deeply emotionally affected by some of the treatment that takes place on apps. And so I have to assume that when you have a matchmaker, you've got someone basically emotionally taking care of you and making sure that you aren't receiving this kind of treatment that can be so damaging to your ability to connect.
Yeah, it's too bad people are like that, and if they do get bad responses, I'm there to, tell them that, that he wasn't for you, she wasn't for you, let's move forward, put it behind you. Um, in the age of social media, so many people hide behind their screens and they feel like they can say all these things that they wouldn't necessarily say to someone's face, which is unfortunate.
I have to assume that going to Matchmaker weeds out just most of that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I can't weed out a lot if they're gonna, continue on the apps, but when you're working with me on a matchmaker, know that those things are not happening. And if they do, they're gone. I don't put up with that at all.
That's great. So, what are things that you would cut someone off for? Just for my listeners looking for a safe option, something that they're like, oh, a matchmaker is worth it, just to know that these are the things that would be weeded out in her screening process.
I do a background check. It's a comprehensive background check. We'll make sure they aren't a criminal or axe murder, and especially women with children. We want to make sure that they don't have bad intentions with them. But that would scare me to death dating, with my kids. Um, I'm there for you, being, supportive and your cheerleader and, wanting to make you succeed.
If a woman goes on a date with a man and something bad does happen, or he says something rude, or and let's, I don't want to just say one way or the other. If a man or a woman goes on a date with someone and then they ghost them or they do something really rude or awful at dinner or whatever, what are some things that would cause you to drop someone as a client for treatment of another person?
Um, Someone that's not open to criticism or someone that doesn't take my advice, that keeps on doing the same things over and over again, that jeopardizes my reputation as a matchmaker.
So matchmakers keep you safe, weed out the riffraff, and on the side, they're helping people on the apps. I hope, got to upgrade some of the game out there. So after listening to this, if someone is wanting to hire you, how can they find you? Where, and I also know on your website you actually also update with articles with dating advice and stuff like that. So how can my listeners find you?
You can find me on my website, Bloom, Bloom, matchmaking.com. I'm on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads. Um, yeah, find me, give me a call. My phone number, I accept phone calls. I got my phone number on my website. I'd love to talk to people.
Do check out Paula. And Paula, we will be talking to you soon. I would love to talk about dating on the spectrum. Thank you so much for joining me today. And
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, it was tons of fun. I learned a lot. So, listeners, until next time, I'll see you in the locker room. Cheers.
Cheers.